There is someone who has been controlling your life for years, yet you have never seen their face. They decide how you feel when you wake up. They tell you what to fear. They remind you of every mistake you have ever made. They convince you that you are not enough, that you will never change, that happiness is always somewhere in the future. And the most dangerous part, you trust everything they say. Who is this invisible master? It is your own mind. But here is the Buddhist truth that changes everything. The voice inside your head is not your true self. It is only a storyteller. Sometimes it tells stories of fear. Sometimes it tells stories of failure. Sometimes it keeps you trapped inside yesterday, or terrified of tomorrow. And after hearing those stories for so many years, you stopped questioning them. You simply accepted them as reality. But what if almost everything your mind has been telling you is only a habit, not the truth? What if the prison you have been trying so hard to escape was quietly built by your own thoughts? Today, we are going to uncover one of the deepest teachings in Buddhist wisdom. Not how to silence your mind, but how to stop becoming its prisoner. Because the moment you understand who is really listening behind every thought, your mind loses the power it has held over you for your entire life, and that moment can change the rest of your life forever. Your mind became your master the day you stopped questioning it. Have you ever noticed how quickly you believe the very first thought that enters your mind? It happens so quietly that you almost never notice it. A feeling appears inside you. Then, within seconds, your mind creates a story to explain that feeling. And before you even have time to pause, you accept that story as the truth. If your mind whispers, "You're not good enough," you begin walking through life as if those words describe who you really are. If it says they don't really care about you, your heart slowly begins to pull away, even though the other person may have done nothing wrong. If it tells you you will never change, you stop trying long before life has given you a real chance. Little by little, without realizing it, your life begins to follow whatever story your mind repeats the most. This is how the mind quietly becomes your master. Not because it is more powerful than you, not because it controls your destiny, but because you stopped questioning it. Most of us have lived this way for so long that we think it is normal. From childhood, we learn to listen to the voice inside our heads. We trust every fear. We trust every doubt. We trust every painful memory. We trust every prediction about tomorrow. If the mind says something often enough, we begin to believe it must be true. Very few people are ever taught to stop and ask one simple question: is this really true? That one question has the power to change an entire life. But instead of asking it, we react immediately. A single thought creates an emotion. The emotion changes our mood. The mood shapes our choices. Our choices create our habits. Our habits slowly become our life. Then, when life reflects those habits back to us, the mind proudly says, "See, I told you." This is how the mind creates its own proof. It tells a story, then it convinces you to live in a way that makes the story seem true. Imagine standing in front of a mirror with a deep crack running through the glass. Every time you look into it, your face appears distorted. If you looked into that broken mirror every day for 20 years, you might eventually believe there was something wrong with your face. You would never stop to wonder if the mirror was the problem. The mind works in exactly the same way. When it is filled with fear, every situation begins to look dangerous. When it is filled with insecurity, every silence feels like rejection. When it is filled with old pain, even kind people begin to look like future enemies. Life has not changed. The people around you have not suddenly become different. The only thing that has changed is the way your mind is looking at the world. That is why two people can walk through the same difficult experience and come away with completely different hearts. One person loses hope. The other discovers strength. One remembers only the darkness. The other remembers the lesson hidden inside the struggle. The world is the same. The mind decides what it will focus on. Most people believe they are seeing reality exactly as it is, but in truth, they are seeing reality through years of habits, fears, disappointments, expectations, and memories. It is like looking through a window covered with dust. You think you are seeing the world clearly, but what you are really seeing is the dirt on the glass. The Buddha understood this more deeply than almost anyone. He saw that the human mind does not simply observe life, it edits life. It adds meaning where there may be none. It removes details that do not match its old beliefs. It makes small problems look enormous. It keeps painful memories alive long after the moment has passed. It imagines stories that have never happened. Then it presents those stories as if they were undeniable facts. Think about how often this happens. Someone forgets to reply to your message. Immediately, the mind begins creating explanations. They are ignoring me. They must be upset with me. I must have done something wrong. Hours later, you discover they were simply busy. The suffering was never created by reality. It was created by the story your mind invented. Or think about criticism. You may receive 10 sincere compliments in one day. People appreciate your kindness. They thank you. They encourage you. Then one person says something negative. What happens? The mind ignores the 10 kind words and clings tightly to the one painful comment. It replays it while you are driving home. It repeats it while you are eating dinner. It brings it back before you fall asleep. The criticism lasted only a few seconds, but the mind continues carrying it for days, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. Now ask yourself something honestly. How many arguments have happened only inside your own head? How many conversations have you replayed again and again, wishing you had said something different? How many nights have you stayed awake, worrying about a future that never arrived? How many times have you imagined people judging you, only to discover later that they were too busy thinking about their own lives? The mind has an extraordinary ability to create suffering without any help from the outside world. And because it does this every single day, it begins to feel normal. You stop noticing that the mind is speaking. You simply assume you are listening to reality. This is one of the greatest illusions of human life. According to Buddhist wisdom, the problem is not that thoughts appear. Thoughts are natural. The problem begins when you believe that every thought deserves your trust. A thought is not a command. A thought is not a prophecy. A thought is not your identity. A thought is simply something passing through your awareness. It comes. It stays for a moment. Then it leaves. Just as clouds move across the sky without becoming the sky, thoughts move through your awareness without becoming who you truly are. Imagine sitting beside a peaceful river. Leaves float gently across the water. Some are bright. Some are dark. Some move quickly. Some move slowly. Would you jump into the river to catch every single leaf? Of course not. You simply watch them pass. Thoughts are like those leaves. Some are helpful. Some are fearful. Some are completely meaningless. But they all pass if you stop grabbing them. The problem begins when you chase every leaf, when you hold on to every thought, when you argue with it, when you fear it, when you build your entire identity around it. The mind quickly learns that whatever receives your attention becomes stronger. If you feed fear every day, fear grows. If you feed anger every day, anger grows. If you feed resentment every day, resentment quietly becomes part of your personality. But the opposite is also true. If you gently return your attention to peace, peace begins to grow. If you practice gratitude, gratitude becomes easier. If you practice compassion, your heart slowly becomes lighter. Your attention is like water. Whatever you water will eventually grow. Many people spend years watering weeds while wondering why no flowers appear in their lives. The Buddha encouraged people to observe the mind, not because observation removes every problem, but because observation breaks unconscious habits. The moment you begin watching your thoughts, instead of immediately believing them, something beautiful begins to happen. For the first time, a small space appears between you and the voice inside your head. That space may seem tiny at first, but it is one of the most powerful discoveries you will ever make. Because inside that space, you finally have a choice. You no longer have to obey every fearful thought. You no longer have to believe every harsh judgment. You no longer have to carry every painful memory as if it defines who you are. Instead, you can simply notice the thought, take a slow breath, and allow it to pass without giving it control over your heart. This awakening rarely happens all at once. It grows quietly, one thought at a time, one breath at a time, one moment of awareness at a time. Day after day, you begin to realize something that changes everything. The voice inside your head has been speaking for many years, but it has never been the true owner of your life. It only seemed powerful because you believed every word without question. The day you begin listening with awareness instead of blind belief, the mind slowly loses the throne you unknowingly gave it. And perhaps, for the first time in your life, you stop living as a servant of every passing thought. You stop allowing fear to tell you who you are. You stop allowing old memories to decide your future. And you begin living as the quiet, peaceful observer who has been within you all along. That is where real freedom begins. Not when the mind finally becomes silent, but when its voice no longer decides the direction of your life. The mind controls you by keeping you imprisoned in the past and afraid of the future. Have you ever noticed that your mind almost never wants to stay where your life is actually happening? Your body is here. This very moment is here. Your breath is here. But your mind is somewhere else. It travels without asking your permission. One moment, it pulls you backward into memories you thought you had already left behind. The next moment, it throws you into a future that has not even arrived. It is almost as if the mind has made a silent promise to itself. It will do anything except let you fully experience the present moment. This is one of the oldest tricks of the human mind. And because it happens every single day, most people never realize they are being controlled by it. Think about your own life. How often are you truly here? Not physically, mentally. When you are eating, are you actually tasting your food? Or are you replaying something someone said yesterday? When you are sitting with your family, are you really listening to them? Or are you secretly worrying about tomorrow? When you walk outside and the wind touches your face, do you notice it? Or has your mind already carried you somewhere else? Many people spend their entire lives missing the only moment they are ever given, the present. The Buddha understood this with remarkable clarity. He saw that suffering grows strongest when the mind abandons the present and begins living inside time, because the past no longer exists. the future has not arrived. Yet the mind treats both as if they are more real than this very moment. It is strange when you think about it. A memory cannot hurt your body. A future event cannot touch you today. But the stories your mind creates about them can make your heart race, your hands shake, and your chest feel heavy. The body reacts to imagined suffering almost as strongly as it reacts to real danger. That is why someone can lie awake at night, unable to sleep because of a conversation that happened 5 years ago. Nothing is happening anymore. The room is quiet. The house is safe. The night is peaceful. Yet inside the mind, the argument is still continuing. Different answers appear. Different endings are imagined. The same pain is replayed again and again. The past has ended, but the mind refuses to let it die. This is one of the reasons emotional wounds stay alive for so many years. It is not always because life keeps hurting you. Sometimes it is because the mind keeps reopening the same wound every single day. Imagine touching the same cut over and over again. Would it ever have the chance to heal? Of course not. Healing requires space. Healing requires stillness. Healing requires allowing the wound to close. The mind often does the opposite. It keeps scratching what was finally beginning to heal. Every painful memory becomes another reason to suffer again. And after enough repetition, you begin believing that suffering is simply part of who you are. But Buddhist wisdom offers a completely different way of seeing this. The Buddha never asked people to erase their memories. He never suggested pretending the past did not happen. Instead, he invited people to stop living inside it. There is a profound difference. Your past can become your teacher, or it can become your prison. The choice depends on whether you keep carrying it or finally learn from it. Many people carry yesterday like a heavy backpack filled with stones. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every failure, every embarrassing moment, every regret. They refuse to put the backpack down. Then they wonder why every step through life feels exhausting. The weight is not coming from today. It is coming from everything they refuse to release. But the past is only half of the prison. The other half is the future. Notice how quickly the mind creates fear about things that have never happened. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I lose everything? What if I embarrass myself? What if I make the wrong decision? These questions seem harmless at first, but over time they quietly become chains. The mind becomes addicted to preparing for disasters that never arrive. It believes worrying is a form of protection. It believes fear keeps you safe. It believes overthinking gives you control. But has worrying ever truly controlled tomorrow? Has fear ever guaranteed success? Has endless overthinking ever removed uncertainty from life? Most of the time, it only steals today's peace. The mind tells you that if you think long enough, you will finally feel safe. But the opposite usually happens. The more you think, the more new fears appear. It is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much certainty you pour into it, it never feels like enough. The mind always asks for one more answer, one more guarantee, one more reason to worry. This is why peace can never be found by satisfying every anxious thought. The mind will always invent another one. The Buddha compared the restless mind to a monkey swinging endlessly from one branch to another. It never stays still. It never rests. The moment it reaches one branch, it immediately looks for the next. Our thoughts often behave the same way. One problem is solved. Immediately, another appears. One goal is achieved. Instantly the mind begins chasing another. One fear disappears. A new fear quietly takes its place. The mind tells you that peace is waiting just beyond the next achievement, just beyond the next relationship, just beyond the next promotion, just beyond the next perfect moment. But every time you arrive, peace moves further away. Because the problem was never outside you. The problem was the habit of searching everywhere except the present moment. The present is the only place where life is actually unfolding, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Only here, only now. Look around you for a moment. Take one slow breath. Notice the air entering your lungs. Notice your heartbeat. Notice the sounds around you. Right now, in this exact moment, is there truly anything missing? Or is the feeling of something missing being created by the mind? This simple question has awakened countless people throughout history. Because most suffering does not come from what is happening now. It comes from comparing this moment with another moment, another memory, another expectation, another imagined future. Comparison steals contentment. Presence restores it. The more present you become, the less power the mind has over you. It cannot frighten you with tomorrow if your attention is fully here. It cannot trap you inside yesterday if your awareness remains in this breath. This does not mean life suddenly becomes perfect. Challenges still come. Loss still comes. Pain still comes. But now your suffering no longer grows from endless mental stories. You meet each moment as it arrives. Not before, not after, exactly when it comes. That is real strength. Not predicting every possible problem, but trusting yourself enough to face each moment with awareness when it appears. The Buddha taught that peace is not hidden somewhere in the future. It is not waiting for you after everything is fixed. It is not something you earn after life becomes perfect. Peace has always been quietly waiting beneath the noise of your restless mind. It has been here every morning you rushed through, every sunset you barely noticed, every conversation you experienced while your mind was somewhere else. It has never left you. Only your attention has. The greatest freedom begins the moment you stop chasing life through memory and imagination, and finally return to the only place where life has ever existed, this moment. Because when your mind stops living in yesterday and stops fearing tomorrow, it finally discovers the peace that has been patiently waiting here all along. The greatest lie your mind ever told you is that its voice is who you are. One of the deepest illusions your mind has ever created is so convincing that most people never discover it during their entire lives. It is not the illusion that life should always be easy. It is not the illusion that happiness comes from money or success. It is something even more hidden than that. The greatest lie your mind ever told you is this: you are the voice inside your head. From the moment you wake up each morning, that voice is already speaking. It comments on your appearance. It reminds you of unfinished work. It compares your life with someone else's. It criticizes your mistakes. It predicts your future. It judges your past. It rarely becomes quiet. After listening to it every day for so many years, you naturally begin to believe that the voice must be you. Who else could it be? After all, it sounds like your own thoughts. It knows your memories. It speaks in your own language. It seems so familiar that you never stop to question its identity. But Buddhist wisdom asks a question that completely changes the way you see yourself. If you can hear the voice, who is listening? Pause for a moment and really think about that. If you are able to notice your thoughts, then there must be something within you that is separate from those thoughts. The one who notices cannot be the thing being noticed. This simple realization has transformed countless lives. Imagine you are sitting beside a busy road. Cars continue passing in front of you. Some move slowly. Some move quickly. Some are beautiful. Some are noisy. But no matter how many cars pass by, you remain sitting quietly on the side of the road. Your thoughts are very much like those passing cars. They keep moving. They never stop for long. Some carry joy. Some carry fear. Some carry anger. Some carry hope. Some carry sadness. The mistake most people make is that they run into the middle of the road and climb into every passing car. If an angry thought appears, they become angry. If a fearful thought appears, they become afraid. If a hopeless thought appears, they become convinced that life has no meaning. They never remain the observer. They become the passenger. And once they become the passenger, the thought decides where their life goes. The Buddha taught that awareness is like the open sky. Thoughts are like clouds. Some clouds are light and beautiful. Others are dark and heavy. Some bring rain. Some disappear within minutes. But no cloud has ever damaged the sky. The sky never becomes the storm. It simply allows the storm to pass. Your true nature is much closer to the sky than it is to the clouds. Thoughts come, thoughts go. Emotions rise, emotions fall. Memories appear, memories fade. But there is something within you that quietly remains through every change. Think back to when you were 10 years old. Your body looked different. Your dreams were different. Your fears were different. Your favorite things were different. Now think about yourself today. Almost everything has changed. Yet somewhere deep inside, there is still a quiet sense that you are the same person. What is it that has remained? It is not your body. It has changed. It is not your beliefs. Many of them have changed. It is not your emotions. They change every single day. It is not even your thoughts. Thousands of thoughts appear and disappear every day without asking your permission. So what has remained? Buddhist wisdom points toward awareness itself, the silent presence that has watched every stage of your life, the quiet witness that has been there during your happiest moments and your darkest nights. It has watched you laugh. It has watched you cry. It has watched you succeed. It has watched you fail. It has never disappeared. Only your attention wandered away from it. The mind does not want you to discover this. Because the moment you realize you are not the voice immediately loses much of its power. Imagine watching a movie in a dark theater. After a while, you become completely absorbed in the story. You laugh when the characters laugh. You cry when they cry. Your heart races during dangerous scenes. For 2 hours, the movie feels completely real. Then suddenly, someone turns on the lights. In one instant, you remember something important. You are sitting safely in a chair. The screen was never your life. The story was never happening to you. You simply became lost inside it. This is exactly what happens with the mind. Its thoughts are like a movie constantly playing inside your head. Most people become so absorbed in the story that they forget they are the one watching it. They mistake every thought for reality. Every fear becomes a prediction. Every memory becomes their identity. Every opinion becomes absolute truth. But awareness turns the lights back on. You suddenly remember, I am watching this thought. I do not have to become this thought. That single realization creates an incredible sense of freedom. Consider how often your mind changes its opinions. One morning it tells you that you are capable. The next morning, it tells you that you are a failure. One day it tells you someone is wonderful. A week later, it tells you that same person cannot be trusted. One moment it wants to take a risk. The next moment it wants to hide. If the voice changes so often, why would you build your identity upon it? Would you build a house on moving sand? Of course not. Yet millions of people build their entire sense of self upon thoughts that change from hour to hour. This is why they feel unstable. When the thoughts become dark, they believe they have become dark. When the thoughts become anxious, they believe they have become anxiety itself. When the thoughts become hopeless, they believe hope has disappeared forever. But thoughts are visitors. They were never meant to become permanent residents. The Buddha often reminded his students that everything in the mind is constantly changing. Every emotion changes. Every desire changes. Every fear changes. Every opinion changes. Everything that changes cannot be your deepest identity. Your true nature is found beneath that endless movement. Like the still water at the bottom of a lake, the surface may be disturbed by wind and rain. Waves may rise. Leaves may fall upon it. Storms may shake it for a while. But deep below the surface, the water remains calm. Many people spend their entire lives trying to calm the surface. Buddhist wisdom invites you to go deeper instead. Because true peace is not found by forcing every thought to disappear. True peace is found by discovering the part of yourself that has never been disturbed by any thought. This is why meditation is not about escaping life. It is not about making your mind perfectly empty. It is about remembering who you are without constantly believing every sentence your mind speaks. The more you sit quietly, the more clearly you begin to see the difference between awareness and thought. You begin noticing that thoughts appear on their own. You never schedule them. You never invite most of them. Many arrive without warning. Many leave without permission. If you are not choosing every thought, then why should every thought define you? This question opens the door to profound freedom. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for your entire life. After many years, you become so used to its weight that you forget you are carrying it. Then one day, someone gently says, "You know, you can put it down." At first, you cannot believe it. The weight has become so familiar that you mistake it for part of yourself. But the moment you place the backpack on the ground, you suddenly realize how much energy it had been stealing from you. The voice inside your head is often like that backpack. You have carried it for so long that you forgot it was something you were carrying. You believed it was who you were. But it was never you. It was only a collection of old fears, old memories, old habits, old beliefs, and old stories repeating themselves. The day you stop calling that voice me, something beautiful begins to happen. The voice may continue speaking. It may still complain. It may still worry. It may still criticize. But now, it no longer sits on the throne of your life. Now, you listen with wisdom instead of obedience. You watch with awareness instead of fear. You breathe instead of reacting. You observe instead of becoming trapped. And slowly, very slowly, the loudest voice inside your head is replaced by something much quieter, something much wiser, something that has always been waiting beneath the noise, a deep stillness, a peaceful awareness, a silent presence that never needed to shout because it has always known the truth. You were never the voice. You were always the one listening. And the moment you truly understand that, your mind loses one of its greatest illusions, And you take one of the biggest steps toward real freedom. The moment you stop fighting your mind, its secret power begins to collapse. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that peace comes from defeating the mind. They think they must destroy every negative thought. They believe they must force themselves to stop feeling fear. They become frustrated whenever anger appears. They become disappointed whenever sadness returns. So every single day becomes another battle inside their own head, a battle they never seem to win. The strange thing is that the harder they fight, the stronger the mind seems to become. Have you ever tried not to think about something? The moment you tell yourself, "I must not think about this," it suddenly becomes the only thing your mind wants to think about. Try not to imagine a red flower. Immediately, the image appears. Try not to remember an embarrassing moment. Suddenly, the memory becomes clearer than ever. This is the strange nature of the mind. The more you resist it, the more attention you give it. And attention is exactly what keeps it alive. Imagine trying to push a large beach ball under the surface of a swimming pool. At first, you can force it down, but the harder you push, the more pressure builds beneath the water. Eventually, your hands become tired. The moment you let go, the ball shoots back to the surface with even greater force. Many people spend their lives treating their thoughts like that beach ball. They keep pushing. They keep resisting. They keep pretending everything is fine. I shouldn't feel anxious. I shouldn't feel angry. I shouldn't be sad. I shouldn't be afraid. Every shouldn't becomes another hand pressing harder against the mind. Soon, they become exhausted. Not because life is too heavy, but because they are using all their energy fighting themselves. The Buddha saw something most people never discover. He realized that fighting the mind is another way of becoming attached to it. Whether you chase a thought or run away from it, your attention is still completely captured by it. In both cases, the thought remains in control. Real freedom begins when you stop treating every thought like an emergency. Imagine sitting beside a quiet lake. Leaves are falling from the trees. Some float gently across the water. Some sink beneath the surface. Would you jump into the lake every time a leaf touched the water? Of course not. You simply watch. You know the lake does not need your help. The leaves will eventually drift away on their own. Your thoughts work in the same way. Some are peaceful. Some are painful. Some are wise. Some are completely meaningless. But nearly all of them disappear if you stop grabbing them. The mind often behaves like a small child, desperately asking for attention. The more you argue with it, the louder it becomes. The more patiently you observe it, the quieter it slowly grows. This does not happen overnight. The mind has spent years learning that every fearful thought receives your full attention. Every worry receives your energy. Every painful memory receives another emotional reaction. Why would it suddenly stop repeating those patterns? It takes patience. It takes compassion. Most importantly, it takes understanding. Many people become angry with themselves because they still experience negative thoughts. But the appearance of a thought is not the problem. Even the wisest person experiences difficult thoughts. The difference is what happens next. Most people immediately believe the thought. A mindful person simply notices it. That tiny difference changes everything. Think about the sky during a storm. Dark clouds gather. Thunder echoes. Rain begins to fall. Yet above every storm, the sky remains untouched. The storm never damages the sky itself. It only passes through it. Your awareness is like that sky. Thoughts are only the weather. Some days your inner weather is bright and peaceful. Some days it becomes cloudy. Some days powerful emotional storms appear without warning. But no storm lasts forever. Everything that appears also disappears. This is one of the deepest truths the Buddha wanted people to experience for themselves. Not simply understand with their minds, but witness directly. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Watch your thoughts without trying to change them. You will notice something surprising. No thought stays forever. It arrives. It remains for a little while. Then another thought replaces it. The mind is constantly changing. Yet most people build permanent suffering from temporary experiences. Someone feels anxious for one afternoon. The mind immediately says, "I have become an anxious person." Someone experiences sadness for a few days. The mind whispers, "My happiness is gone forever." But feelings are visitors. They come to teach, not to stay forever. The problem begins when we invite them to build a home inside us. The Buddha taught that clinging creates suffering. Most people think clinging only means holding on to pleasant things, but we also cling to painful thoughts. We cling to old identities. We cling to guilt. We cling to resentment. We cling to the stories we have repeated for years. Sometimes people become so attached to their suffering that they no longer know who they would be without it. Their pain becomes part of their identity. Without realizing it, they protect it. They feed it. They return to it, again and again. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because the familiar often feels safer than the unknown. This is why true healing sometimes feels uncomfortable. It asks you to let go of stories you have believed for years. It asks you to stop introducing yourself through your wounds. It asks you to stop defining yourself by what happened long ago. That can feel frightening, because if you are not your pain, then who are you? The Buddha answered this question through direct experience. He encouraged people not to search for an intellectual answer. Instead, become still, observe, watch. Notice what remains when thoughts become quiet. Notice what remains when emotions settle. Notice the silent awareness that has been present through every stage of your life. That awareness has never been broken. It has simply been hidden beneath endless mental noise. Imagine standing beside a waterfall. At first, all you hear is the rushing water. It seems impossible that anything else exists. But if you stay there long enough, your ears begin adjusting. Gradually, you notice birds singing nearby. You hear the wind moving through the trees. You hear leaves gently touching one another. Those sounds were always there. The waterfall was simply louder. Your mind works in the same way. For years, the voice inside your head has been so loud that you forgot something much quieter has always been present. A deep inner stillness, a quiet awareness, a peaceful presence that does not judge, does not compare, does not fear, does not rush. The moment you stop arguing with every thought, you begin hearing that quiet presence again. This is why mindfulness is not about controlling the mind. It is about changing your relationship with it. Instead of becoming its servant, you become its observer. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause. Instead of believing every sentence, you become curious. Instead of asking, "How do I stop this thought?" you begin asking, "Why am I giving this thought so much power?" That simple shift changes everything. Because the mind cannot control someone who has learned to observe before reacting. It cannot trap someone who refuses to chase every fearful story. It cannot dominate someone who has discovered the strength of quiet awareness. Little by little, its secret power begins to collapse. Not because you defeated it, not because you forced it into silence, but because you finally stopped feeding it with unconscious attention. And just as a fire slowly fades when no one continues adding wood, the restless mind gradually becomes quieter when you stop giving every thought your fear, your energy, and your unquestioned belief. That is the quiet miracle of Buddhist wisdom. The greatest victory is never won through force. It is won through awareness. Because the moment you stop fighting your mind, you also stop giving it the power to rule your life. And in that gentle surrender, you discover a strength far greater than control. You discover peace, the Buddhist awakening that ends the mind's control forever. There comes a moment in every person's life when something begins to change. Not outside. Inside. Nothing about your job may be different. Your relationships may still be the same. Your responsibilities may not become any lighter. Life may continue to bring challenges, disappointments, and uncertainty. Yet something within you quietly awakens. For the first time, you begin to understand that the greatest freedom was never going to come from changing the world around you. It was always going to come from changing your relationship with your own mind. This is the awakening the Buddha wanted every person to discover. Not a miracle, not a secret hidden on a distant mountain, not something reserved for a few special people, but a simple truth that has always been available to anyone willing to look within. The mind has spent your entire life convincing you that peace is somewhere else. It tells you, I will finally be happy when I have more money. I will finally feel complete when someone loves me. I will finally relax when all my problems disappear. I will finally enjoy life after I achieve one more goal. But have you noticed what always happens? You reach one destination, and almost immediately the mind creates another. You solve one problem, it finds another one. You achieve one dream, it begins chasing the next. The finish line keeps moving, not because life refuses to satisfy you, but because the restless mind survives by making you believe that peace is always somewhere ahead. It never wants you to stop. It never wants you to rest. It never wants you to realize that what you have been searching for has been quietly living inside you all along. Imagine spending your whole life searching for a pair of glasses, only to discover they were already resting on your face. That is what awakening often feels like. You laugh. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you realize what you were searching for was never truly missing. The Buddha taught that suffering does not end because life becomes perfect. It ends because your understanding becomes clear. This is one of the most beautiful truths in all of Buddhist wisdom. The world does not have to change before your heart becomes peaceful. Your thoughts do not have to disappear before you experience stillness. Your past does not have to be erased before healing begins. Your future does not have to become certain before you feel safe. Everything begins with understanding. Think about the ocean. On the surface, powerful waves rise and fall every single day. Storms arrive without warning. The water becomes rough. The wind becomes violent. From above, it looks as though the entire ocean is in chaos. But thousands of feet below the surface, there is incredible stillness. The deep ocean is not disturbed by the storms happening above it. Most people spend their lives trying to calm the surface. They want perfect circumstances, perfect health, perfect relationships, perfect success, perfect certainty. But the Buddha pointed in a completely different direction. He invited people to discover the depth within themselves where peace already exists. The waves may continue, but you no longer mistake yourself for the waves. You begin living from the depth instead of the surface. That is true awakening. It is not becoming someone new. It is remembering who you were before fear became your identity, before overthinking became your habit, before comparison stole your confidence, before old pain convinced you that life was against you, before your mind became louder than your own awareness. Many people spend years trying to improve themselves. There is nothing wrong with growth, but sometimes the greatest transformation does not come from adding something new. Sometimes it comes from letting go of unnecessary fear, letting go of endless comparison, letting go of the need to control everything, letting go of stories that no longer serve you, letting go of old identities that were built from moments of pain rather than moments of truth. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your hand. At first, it does not seem difficult, but after 1 hour, your arm begins to ache. After 1 day, the pain becomes almost unbearable. The question is not whether the stone is heavy. The question is, why are you still holding it? Many people carry emotional stones exactly like this: a betrayal from years ago, a mistake they cannot forgive, words someone spoke decades earlier, a version of themselves that no longer exists. Every morning they pick those stones up again. Every evening they wonder why they feel so tired. The exhaustion is not only coming from life, it is coming from everything they refuse to put down. The Buddha reminded people again and again that attachment is the root of suffering. Most people hear this and immediately think about attachment to people or possessions. But there is another kind of attachment that is even more dangerous. Attachment to thoughts, attachment to opinions, attachment to fear, attachment to the image you have created of yourself. The mind whispers, "This is just who you are." You will always worry. You will always overthink. You will always be broken. But awareness quietly smiles, because awareness knows something the mind has forgotten. Everything changes. The seasons change. The weather changes. The trees change. The rivers change. Your body changes. Your thoughts change. Your emotions change. Even the stars above your head continue moving. If everything in life changes, why should you believe that your pain is permanent? Why should you believe that your anxiety is your identity? Why should you believe that one chapter of your story is the entire book? The Buddha often encouraged people to observe nature because nature never resists change. The tree does not cling to its old leaves. When autumn arrives, it lets them fall, not because it has given up, but because it trusts that spring will come again. Imagine if the tree desperately held onto every dead leaf. No new leaves could grow. Its own attachment would prevent its renewal. Human beings often do the same thing. We hold on to old anger, old guilt, old heartbreak, old failures, old labels. Then we wonder why our lives feel heavy. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is not learning how to hold on. It is learning how to release with grace. As this understanding grows within you, something beautiful begins to happen. You stop reacting to every thought. You stop chasing every desire. You stop believing every fear. You begin listening more deeply. You become slower to judge, quicker to forgive, more patient with yourself, more compassionate toward others. You begin realizing that everyone you meet is also carrying a restless mind. The angry person is suffering. The jealous person is suffering. The person who insults others is often trapped inside their own fears. Instead of responding with hatred, you begin responding with understanding. Not because their actions are always right, but because your peace becomes more valuable than winning every battle. This is one of the quiet signs of awakening. Your energy no longer flows toward proving yourself. It flows toward understanding yourself. And once you understand yourself, you no longer need constant approval from the world. Praise becomes lighter. Criticism becomes lighter. Success no longer controls your happiness. Failure no longer destroys your spirit. Because your peace is no longer borrowed from circumstances. It rises from something much deeper. Eventually, you reach a place where the voice inside your head still speaks. But it no longer leads your life. It still brings old memories from time to time. But they no longer define who you are. It still creates fearful stories. But you smile gently, knowing they are only stories. The mind has not disappeared. It has simply returned to its proper place. It is no longer your master. It has become your servant. And this changes everything. You begin waking up with more gratitude than fear. You begin walking through life with more curiosity than anxiety. You begin listening with more compassion than judgment. You begin breathing more deeply because there is no longer a war happening inside you. This is not the end of life's challenges. There will still be difficult days. There will still be moments of sadness. There will still be uncertainty. But now you meet those moments differently. You meet them with awareness instead of panic, with wisdom instead of impulse, with presence instead of resistance. And because of that, even pain can no longer imprison you. That is the quiet miracle of Buddhist awakening. It does not promise a perfect life. It offers something far greater: a free mind, a peaceful heart, and a way of living that no longer depends on the world behaving exactly as you want it to. Because the greatest victory was never about controlling life. It was about no longer allowing your unconscious mind to control you. The day you truly understand this, you stop searching for freedom. You realize freedom was never waiting somewhere in the future. It was patiently waiting beneath every thought you finally learned to let go. And in that moment, without anyone else noticing, a new life quietly begins. Not because the world has changed, but because you are no longer the person your mind convinced you that you had to be. If there is one truth I hope you carry with you after this journey, let it be this: your mind is not your enemy. It has never been. It simply became loud because you spent years believing every word it whispered. For so long, you searched for peace by trying to control the world around you. You hoped that if people changed, if life became easier, if your past disappeared, or if your future became certain, then finally, your heart would be at peace. But Buddhist wisdom gently reminds us that real peace never begins outside of us. It begins the moment we stop giving every thought the power to decide who we are. From today forward, whenever your mind tells you that you are not enough, pause. Take one slow breath. Remember that a thought is only a visitor. It is not your identity. Whenever fear tells you that tomorrow will destroy you, return to this moment, because this moment is where your life is happening. Whenever old memories try to pull you backward, thank them for the lesson they taught you. Then gently let them go. You cannot walk toward a peaceful future while carrying the weight of every yesterday. And remember, you do not have to become someone else to find freedom. You only have to stop believing the stories that made you forget who you already are. Within you, there is a quiet place that no disappointment can reach. A peaceful place that no opinion can damage. A stillness that has been waiting for you long before your fears ever appeared. Return to that place again and again. The more often you return, the quieter the mind becomes. And one day, without even noticing when it happened, you will wake up and realize that the voice which once controlled your entire life has become nothing more than a passing whisper. That is the power of awareness. That is the freedom the Buddha pointed toward. And that is the beginning of a life lived with clarity instead of confusion, with wisdom instead of fear, and with peace instead of endless struggle. If this message touched your heart, take a moment to share in the comments. I choose awareness over fear. Writing those words is not for anyone else. It is a promise to yourself. And if you are walking this path of inner freedom and Buddhist wisdom, Golden Lotus wisdom, and join us on this journey. Until we meet again, take care of your mind, protect your inner peace, and never forget, the greatest freedom is not found by changing the world. It is found the moment you stop letting your mind decide who you are.